Hello and welcome to Semifinals of the Bishop Division in Season 11 of the BPL Draft League. Our opponent this week is Nitin, our Week 7 opponent that we lost 3-0 to in the main season. The main problems in this matchup has not changed, by the way. I know the last one did, but this one has not, since this was the week after trades closed. The main problems we ran into last time were Meloetta being a Calm Mind sweeper set with Psychic, Focus Blast, and Calm Mind with leftovers as its item. It really hit my team hard, and I was very fearful of the rematch with this thing being the same set with Psyshock instead to get around my Assault Vest sets. We also had to deal with a Scarfed Iron Moth and a very physically defensive Mega Scizor with support Dragapult and just bulky Tinglu, bulky Lapras with boots. Last time we went with Zeraora with lefties and Toxic to get around the Tinglu, HP Fire for Scizor, and we went with bulky Pelipper with some recovery, defog, attacks, no U-turn because I was afraid I would never click it. We went with a standard Ogerpon set, just fast enough to outspeed, I believe it was Meloetta. We went with a female Basket Legion with a Life Orb to take the most advantage out of rain and water damage if we could, after Lapras went down. But unfortunately, we missed an 83% two-hit KO with Shadow Balls and died to the Lapras. Last time, we also went with a Terrifier Assault Vest physically offensive Landorus and a Hitmontop for Rapid Spin support with Foresight that didn't really come into play because it missed a triple axle. Last time, Nitin was actually kind enough to provide us with his paste for us. He had a very, very clearly supportive Dragapult with boots, Hex, Will-O-Wisp, just to cripple my physical attackers if I brought them, which was a good call bringing Terrifier Lando. Like I said before, this sub-sweeper Meloetta, a boots Lapras, a bulky Tinglu with hazard support, a physically bulky Scizor, and then Terra Ground Scarfed Iron Moth. These two being the biggest problems for us, and Meloetta causing some issues as well. Like I said, if he switched Psyshock, it could seriously mess up my whole plan. So I decided to go with switching, because Zeraora and Landorus's defensive stats are so similar. They're only like look at this: 88, 89, 75, 90, 80, 80. They have the same special bulk essentially. I figured I would be able to switch their roles a bit. Not quite exactly, because I'm running Specs Lando, as I realized that Nitin, besides Wheezing, does not have any switch-ins to Specs Lando Earth Power. And we use Psychic just to cover for that if it comes up. We also have Defog and U-Turn on this spec set, just in case my specs get knocked off by Scizor. We are also running Loaded Dice Basket Legion, a physical set this time that can get ahead of both Dragapult in rain, and after a Scale Shot on Dragapult, we can get ahead of Iron Moth as well, because we hit 430 speed, boosts up to 645 speed after a Scale Shot. And a Scale Shot with 4 hits does, in fact, take out the Dragapult that they had last time. Physically bulky Pelipper. This time with U-turn, I opted to not have Scald, which is really bad for both Scizor and Ting Lu, but I figured if my threats to rip those open are with Lando, we'll be fine. We had just enough speed to outspeed, what was it? I want to say it was Meloetta, but that doesn't quite sound right. I guess it was. Yeah, it's probably Meloetta. It just doesn't feel like it feels like I would need Timid for that, but I guess not. That's the wrong set. I mean, I am Timid. It's just like maybe it was just barely. I don't know. We had enough speed to outspeed Meloetta, which was like my big thing. Unless it was Scarf, then that would be a concern. And then we have our Bisharp here with a good amount of physical defense investment to take hits from Lapras using Body Press and potential attacks from Scizor. We have just enough speed to outspeed Scizor, to power creep it, or excuse me, to speed creep it if it is running no speed or minimal speed investment, like 1 point. Low kick for Ting Lu. The idea is to knock off, to switch into Lapras, click knock off, and then click low kick, forcing either like potentially catching a Ting Lu switch in right after the knock off, or just taking out the Lapras. And we do outspeed it, so that's like a bonus, right? We do get the advantage in on it. If I switch in on a freeze dry, great. I have the ability to take 2 body presses though, thanks to my investment. Because it was running body press last time. So I figured I should watch out for that regardless. Lastly, we have the same Ogerpon as before. I don't believe I changed anything about this. Ivy Cudgel, Horn Leech, Encore, Quick. No, I did. I switched it to Spiky Shield instead of Encore, because Encore did not come in handy at all. And Spiky Shield will allow me to scout out what Iron Moth wants to click, if that's relevant. So I didn't really go into much detail either on what this Zeraora set is. We are terrestrializing Zeraora this time, as basically as soon as I get it in, right? Because Assault Vest Zeraora takes hits from Lapras quite well. It doesn't take the body presses fantastically, but it's like about the same. We have Durian Punch. We can get the recovery back if he expects me to click an electric move and goes into Ting Lu, but he also might not want to risk getting toxic again. So there's that. But if he attacks me specially, he'll see I'm Assault Vest. And the goal is to lead with Lando to just apply immediate offensive pressure with Specs Earth Power. And chip things down and eventually allow the rest of my team to rip through his non-Weezing team. Like, if Weezing's there, we still have Psychic on Lando to deal with that. And we do have a fairly decent Galarian Weezing switch-in well, I mean, we don't have fantastic Galarian Weezing switch-ins. The best we got is Pelipper, really. So it's not what I'm looking to see. I don't want to see it, but it's not the end of the world if I do see it, because it's like not a huge threat to my team. But with that all being said, like, it's about the same as last time. The major differences are in my bringing of Bisharp, my switch in my Basculegion, and the reversal of the roles of Zeraora being offensive and Lando being bulky, to Lando being offensive and Zeraora being bulky. These are about the same, just with a little more pivot action on Pelipper, and we have Spiky Shield on this now. So without further ado, let us take a look. It looks like he is running the same exact team as last time. For the record, we have Terra Dark Zeraora. I don't know if I said this already, but we just want to increase the power of knockoff for Meloetta and just get as much damage as we can off of that while being immune to psychic type attacks. And yeah, Plasma Fist for Lapras if we want to, or Meloetta, like if we have to. Volt Switch for Pivot, and Drain Punch for Ting Lu. So here we go. Let's get into it. Like I said, they are still Terra Ground Iron Moth. I'm actually not 100% sure said that, but it's the same lead as last time. Last time we fought, Nitin led Scizor. I led Pelipper. I did not want to lead Pelipper again. Pelipper is Boots once again. Sorry for not clarifying that before. It's a bit different. I made sure I keep. Okay, so I'm not 1,000,000% sure if I said this already, and I know that's like the third time I've said I'm not sure if I've said this already, but I am Terrafire on this specifically to make him think that I am once again Assault Vest Landorus. And I don't want him to like. I'm not like 1,000,000% confident in clicking Earth Power here. I might want to click U-turn just because I'm not sure if Scizor wants to Terra and click U-turn or if he wants to hard switch. I end up just clicking Earth Power for the damage either way. And I get a solid 37% on Ting Lu. I don't want to take any hit from that, so I switch out into Pelipper. He gets up Stealth Rocks, which I'm like, okay. I don't want to defog and have Meloetta come in, so I'm just going to U-turn for now. I have Boots. I can come back in on this. Bisharp doesn't take much. He clicks Whirlwind, which actually kind of sucks. I go into Zeraora, which isn't ideal. I Terrestrialize just to avoid taking a ton of Earthquake chip, which he does use Earthquake anyways, and it does still chip me for half, which sucks. I switch out to preserve my Zeraora's health. And to Pelipper, just so I don't take I'm fine with taking a Ruination on this, basically. I defog now because I'm like, screw it. I'm Terra Dark on Zeraora. If Meloetta wants to come in, it can. Lapras goes for Body Press, which is like the obvious maneuver. I'm not switching into something that doesn't take a Freeze Dry, right, with these 4 Pokemon. So you click Body Press knowing that I'm going to switch out into one of my 2 Dark types now. So great play by that. Great coverage from Nitin. We click Knockoff. It covers a switch into Ting Lu. It covers a switch into either of these 2, which I don't know why you would put those in against Bisharp. Doesn't really cover Scizor, but like I'm not expecting that him to switch into Scizor. We get the Boots, which is pretty good. He gets another Body Press. I go for a low kick, but he switches into Scizor. So I'm like, shit, all right. We get a lucky crit, and I switch out to Pelipper because I don't really want to lose Bisharp just yet. And we have revealed the low kick. He gets my item and U-turns out into Lapras, but I U-turn out slower into Lando. Now this turn was a big pause because I believe Nitin had to take a moment to calculate what took hits from Specs Landorus Earth Power, and he ultimately determined that he determined the same thing I did. He doesn't have a switch in for Specs Lando Earth Power. So I'm just going to click that and kill the Lapras to free up Basket Legion to do what it wants to do. And he goes into Ting Lu, not an offensive threat like Iron Moth, and he gets some rocks up. And ultimately just ends up sacking Ting Lu. Which I'm not sure if that was the correct decision, but it's his decision. I really don't know what you do here against this. Because this is faster than the majority of your team, barring Deepult and Iron Moth if you're Scarfed. He does go into Iron Moth here. I just switch out, figuring, okay, I'll sack Bisharp. Like, okay. He Terra Grounds, which is respectable because he doesn't survive Earth Power otherwise. And he clicks Sludge Wave, which, I mean, does 2-hit KO my Lando because I'm not Assault Vest. But he failed to calculate that I had a Steel type switch in. If he had been Terra Water going into this, we did reconcile with this after the set was over. Terra Water would have been much, much better going into me if he expected the same AV Lando with Terra Fire. But Terra Ground did cover a lot of my team as well. If you look, like, it hits a lot of my team members neutrally, and like otherwise he has things to hit an AMT and whatnot, and it's still immune to Zeraora. But regardless, like, Sludge Wave is basically the death of him because I do have Pursuit on this, and now that is heavily, heavily chipped for damage. I got my last little low kick damage in on that because of the highest grossing damage attack that I had. And at this point, the game is basically over. I just need to not mess up. I calculated I would survive even a Bug Buzz from this thing. which was the most it could do. He unfortunately misses a Will-O-Wisp. Like I said, I don't think it really matters at this point. Even if I got burned, I was willing to sacrifice this thing. But I do get an Ivy Cudgel, which means Dragapult does go down prematurely, which is very unfortunate. He does get the kill on Ogerpon, but I just go into Lando here, and the game is over. He gets his last little chip that he can, and he goes into what is not a sub-setup sweeper Meloetta, but a Specs Meloetta. And he clicks Psychic to take out my Lando, and because he's locked into Psychic, that's just it. I did not know it was Specs. I just went into Zeraora regardless, and just to finish things up, because I was like, this is why Zeraora is here. I outspeed. It's not Scarfed. I definitely killed Knockoff. There's nothing to switch out. Like it was about as well fought as you could have without bringing Weezing. It's just understandable that you would expect me to run the same Lando, because the same Lando with a physically offensive set was really good into your team. Unfortunately, I made several switches. I said it wasn't that different, but it was a pretty different team than last time. Whereas his was mostly the same. I believe instead of T-Bolt, he had Flamethrower. And he was physically defensive. Otherwise, the same EVs. Like I said, this was Specs. This was about the same Lapras, except all of the bulk was invested into special defense instead of HP. Which is why my attack did so much. My knockoff. Ting Lu, I think, was exactly the same, barring it had Whirlwind over, I can't remember. I want to say it was Throat Chop. Scizor was exactly the same, and Iron Moth was, I believe, exactly the same. So, yeah. I mean, like, if you bring... Iceman brought the same thing against me as he did in Week 5, and it didn't work out for him. Nitin did change things up. I think I think not bringing Weezing was... Like, I can see why you wouldn't want to bring Weezing. It only does so much against my team. It's not, like, spectacular or anything, but it was still, unfortunately, necessary. And without it, it just kind of made his team fodder for my Landorus. Like, the only other option he would have had was to, like, Terra Water Iron Moth would have been great. Terra Flying would have at least allowed him to avoid the Earth Power, and forced me to switch. And then he could have gotten a better read. Like, he wouldn't have used Sludge Wave, he would have used Terra Blast, and that would have hit my team neutrally. But it is what it is. Sometimes you prep, like, perfectly, sometimes you don't prep perfectly, and unfortunately he did not evaluate the threat of Specs Lando as an option, and it cost him very dearly. This is not to say Nitin played poorly. He absolutely, like, thrashed me the last time we played, but unfortunately I just had to jump on him this time with my Specs Lando. And, like, missing your Will-O-Wisp and getting crit by Ogerpon doesn't really help, but I do think the game was in an unwinnable state at that point anyways. So, good games to Nitin. There was a little hacks in my favor. I don't think it, like, truly mattered. The crit really didn't matter that much on Scizor. The Will-O-Wisp just mattered for differential, but differential doesn't really do much in playoffs, semifinals. But with that being said, we are moving on to finals. Our matchup is against Queen of Roses, our Week 8 opponent, who we got Frozen Round 2 against. And I am hoping that I can clutch it out in that match. With that all being said, thank y'all for watching, and I'm sorry this was, suffice to say, not the most lengthy of games, but it was just... Lando just went so crazy here. It's been doing really, really well in playoffs, and I have no doubt in my mind that I no longer resent choosing it as a Terra Captain over Basket Legion. because it is just doing so well. And yeah, that's semifinals. I will see you guys back. We are, by the way, I should say, the winner of this match does automatically promote to the next division. So the next season of BPL, I will be in I am currently in the Bishop division, which is D4. I will be promoted to D3. The division names will change a bit. It's based on the MVP for the last season. The MVP for the last season in season 10 was Bisharp, which is why it's there's a chess theme to all of the things. So in this one, Division 3 is Rook. I will be promoting to Division 3 for the next season, which will be starting. You should be able to see it is August 7th. The next season will be probably starting in about a month and like a week, around September 16th or the 23rd. Applications are probably going to start opening in a few weeks. So if you want, the best Pokemon League is available to all competitors. They have 5 skill-based divisions at minimum. This season, they had 6. And it's just a really, really nice community. I will link the Discord in the description. And definitely check it out. We're in the middle of the off-season right now. We're in week 5 of off-season. Next week is the last week of off-season. And we will be moving on into playoffs of that. And then shortly after playoffs are finished, the next season should start. And yeah, it'll be... I do plan on entering that. And I will be in Division 3, most likely, if my application is accepted, which we get an auto promotion. So it should be. But yeah. Anyways, have a good one. I will catch y'all on Saturday for the finale, the grand finals against Queen of Roses. And yeah, have a good one. Thank you for watching.